Okay, so I've set up the game for 6 players. Got 6 different factions going around. I'll be going counterclockwise as I always do, just to prove that I'm special. I've dealt out 6 hands of 6 cards each. The way the game is designed, you deal out 36 cards. Whether or not a person is supposed to get an extra card is kind of iffy. It says 36 cards are removed, they're distributed evenly, any remaining cards are returned to the deck. Sounds to me like, say, if we'd played 7 players, each would get 5, and it's that simple. I guess they didn't want to spell out the numbers for each. I'm going to grab this deck. This is for the blue players. There's a few cards that are kept out of the initial deck. Those are going to get shuffled in immediately. And then there's these, the Duke of Lancaster, Duke of York. These go to advanced games only. They go to whoever holds the highest air for that territory. I haven't set up the board yet. It doesn't really matter much. Okay, so let's take a look at blue, set up their pieces, and set up their lords. So I got kind of a lucky draw here in the sense that I got a lord and a title and a job. Now I can put everything on one person here, and I got to think about this a little bit because Holland shows up, and this is going to be kind of hard. It's going to be Blue's character. If I made Holland these things, say I gave him most of it. Well, let's see where he starts out. He's going to start out in either Kimbleton, I've got this all covered, Kimbleton or Compton. Now, Kimbleton's here, Compton I think is towards the north, but I'm not sure. I don't know, let me get my hands to everyone. And you can see I'm probably going to need another table, but last time I said that with 1830 I got away without it. So let's say, let's see, where's his other place? It's down here, Compton. Mainly I've got these memorized, but there's little codes for each of them. Now if I make him these things, well, I could also give him the bishop, and that would give him Carlisle, but he'd have a hard time defending Carlisle. Also, these troops only count north of the River Trent. Where does Howard start out? Howard starts out in Farnham. That's down here. That's not terribly helpful either. I'm going to put everything with Holland. And theoretically, everybody's doing this on their own. So let's see. And then I grab my leaders. Hopefully I have them all. There's Holland. And who's the other guy? This one. Now, he's got to start at Farnham, and I'm going to start Holland here at Kimbleton. And they're actually inside their fortress. If they want to be. They can come out and fight if they wish. And I'm going to do this for each of the different players, as well as set up the royals at the beginning of the game, and then I'll come back and tell you about what we got. Well, definitely needed more tables, so I spread it out a little bit there. And I know how this game expands, and with 2 or 3 nobles, it was filling up the whole thing. So, here's what we got. Holland and Howard make one set, and we've already kind of looked at them. Holland is somewhere up here, and Howard is down here. Now you're going to see there's pieces all over the place, and it looks kind of chaotic. Some of them there's no help for it. For example, these little ownership symbols, those are going to be all over the board. But the nobles tend to conglomerate. At the beginning of the game, they're spread out all over the place. But anyway, he's got no particular exceptional powers. Over here we got the Duke of Norfolk as our main guy, Mowbray. He starts over here. So I gave him the Chancellery of Lancaster, which gives him 100 extra troops when he's within 3 squares of Conway, which I've got marked with his thing. And that's kind of a nice power, a regional power that gives him a significant amount of troops. I mean, if you start looking, well, what does this guy have? He has 80, 100, 130, 140 for his whole faction, plus 30 more above, I believe, the Tees. No, the Trent. Which is this river? Anywhere north of that, he has additional troops. 100 extra troops, plus he has these 50 extra from the job, is a powerful jump in terms of strength. Over here, we have Berkeley as the main power, and we made him Earl of Worcester and Chancellor of Cornwall, which gives him 100 extra inside Cornwall. He's got 50 outside, and we give him the city. Unfortunately, we ended up with the Lieutenant of Ireland. Well, I could have given him that instead of the Chancellor of Cornwall, and that's kind of a neat power. I mean, look, 200 extra troops, but it's way over here in Ireland. Probably not going to be a major factor in the game. Even though there's an heir over there, he's a low-ranking heir. It seemed more valuable to have some power in England itself. And what's going to happen is, I'm going to put these over here because they get reshuffled in, but this goes into the Chancery, and that'll be available for assignment at the next Parliament. And likewise here, my favorite, of course, the Earl of Warwick, starts over here, and we made him Marshal of England. Now, Marshal of England's one of them, oh boy, do you really want to be this? It's a painful event, painful title to have, because you just get called all over the place as Marshal of England. But you got 100 troops everywhere, and he's fairly strong. We didn't have anything to give to Hastings. If we had a title, we could have made him the Constable of Dover, but we can't. So that goes here. Likewise here, this is Beaufort, by the way. The Duke of Somerset starts over here. We gave him the Warden of the Northern Marches. This isn't a perfect fit. This is another one of those powers that gets called a lot. Some of the regional ones don't get called too much. He's got 100 extra troops up here in the north, but he gets called up there quite a bit, and that's nowhere near his home. What I gave up was the Warden of the Cinque Ports, which comes with ships. It's a good card. That was actually a tough choice between the annoyance of the Warden of the Marches and the bonus of ships when you're here. But neither one gives anything tremendous, and having troops and a location is kind of powerful. And then over here, Greystoke got a bunch of mercenaries we see, but he also got the Earl of Richmond. That's Tarzan there, yeah, up here. And, you know, he's in kind of this loser position in terms of that. In terms of interesting stuff, well, the Marshal, I believe, ends up with Edward of March. He's second in line in the Yorkist line. So that's kind of a nice position to have. What people would want is the Archbishop of York. That gives them York. Of course, they can siege the city and take it anyway. And I guess we're about ready. I got to shuffle those new cards in. And other than that, well, we'll start it off. Okay, well, let's start off a card. Or a round or whatever. Let's start with the blue player up here. He's going to be starting. And I open up by drawing one of these. Storms at sea, ships take refuge in nearest port. Boats used to be a problem because you could sail out at sea and be safe from them. These storms at sea were the only thing that could force you in. The only problem was you couldn't have a lot of troops in a boat. The new deck has gotten rid of a lot of these hiding places, including sea, by adding naval combat, areas like islands. The only person who can hide here is Douglas, for example. You have to own the island to be able to hide there without a refuge card. Okay, well, let's take a look at our Holland, our Treasurer of England. What can he do? He has 130 troops, about. That's not going to take much. Edward has 200 defending Kenilworth. Coventry's defended by 200. We don't have any boats, so we can't get to Ireland. Calais not going to be open. There's George, Duke of Clarence. He's sort of the loose noble. So I could get to him, conceivably. Let's start heading in his direction. See if we can get maybe to Hereford. That's a safe place to be if there's no plagues. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, that's not going to work. 1, 2, 3. I'm not going to be able to make it. So I may not want to bring him. He's only 10 strength points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll put Holland inside Hereford. And there's no real way to mark if you're inside or not, but I don't think it's really necessary. And I'll move him up to Wallingford. It's a little stronger. You generally just don't want to be out in the open, because if somebody can mass forces against you, they can attack you. And remember, if they damage a big enough force, they get a free draw according to the options. Normally, you don't make attacks this early in the game. Late in the game, it always became important to make attacks in general. Okay, and we're not going to do Parliament or anything like that. We don't have that kind of power. So the last thing we do is we draw a card, and we get a job. We can't assign it immediately. And usually you don't want to assign these. You want to hold them because you can play them just before combat as kind of a surprise. Okay. Let's take a look. I'm going to do things kind of in detail for the first round. Let's take a look at this next guy. Mowbray. He's Chancellor of Lancaster. He's a powerful guy. He probably, with 200 strength points, I think he has enough. He could take Harlech by siege. That's tasty. So let's think about that, because Edward's more valuable than George. Now, I would go grab George if I could, except if I do that, then Neville, as the Marshal, might run in and get Edward. So let's see what we've got. We've got Scrope, who's up here, the Earl of Kent. I'd like to get him down someplace kind of safe. Moving in this pattern, in these terrain, is really always difficult. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't find a good safe place for him. And let's look at Paul. Now I'm acorns. I don't see any easy way across here either. I may not want to move Paul, because I'm very, very afraid of what will happen if I put the siege on. Neville is going to be angry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5. He might attack there too. I think I'm just not going to move either of them, and I'm going to lay siege to Harlech Castle. I don't get to draw a card for this, but I do get to next turn I'd get to. And I draw a card, and I get a noble. I'll probably play him later to bring him into play. We got our next one. Berkeley. Berkeley doesn't have an obvious, as Chancellor of Cornwall, he doesn't have anything he obviously wants to do. Let's see if we can get Bourchier near him. I'm going to slip him into Oxford. And I kind of want to get Berkeley down to Cornwall as soon as possible. He's important. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I feel a little safer already. Oh, you know what? I've been forgetting to draw cards. So the first guy, nothing. Nothing. And, you know, I didn't mention this, but these cards are really hard to shuffle. I don't know how they got clumped together, probably because I was playing a different game. But I shuffled these for like 10 minutes using... You can't riffle them. You cannot riffle them. They just don't work there. Using an overhand shuffle. And it didn't work. It's obvious. I don't know. Alright. He gets a red card. And he gets an Archbishop. That's a useful card. It doesn't come with much. He's probably going to hold this until Parliament unless he has a king he needs to crown. Alright, let's go to Warwick. Warwick gets a refuge card. Now these are from the new deck. What they allow you to do is to go to a place like the continent or Scotland or Ireland, or some of these islands if you're not the guy who owns the island, and hide there. In the original game, you could hide there all game, and the game became this kind of, okay, so somebody would run off to the continent and nothing would happen. That might be very realistic. Think of Stephen and Matilda, for example, but not that that's this era, but it's no fun. And the refuge cards make you engage, and few of these royals went off and hit. So Warwick only has 150 and say 20 for the city, which is made up of 170. He's not as big as Mowbray. He can't really challenge Mowbray for the control. So what he wants to do is he wants to see what else he could do. Well, he can get close to Clarence. We gotta kind of see, does this connect? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna pull back to here and gather our forces here. Oh. Yeah, Norfolk is only strong within 3 hexes of this. He doesn't have the big power, the Chancellor of the County Palatine of Wales. You know what? We forgot to draw. Oh, no, we didn't. Yeah, no, we'll end our turn by drawing. And we get a kind of nice noble who we probably will want to play soon. He shows up in one of these. I don't remember which one we got here. Arundel, so he can show up in Chirk. Okay, over here, rid of summons to Parliament. Not too useful at this point in the game, but it could be. And let's see, we got Herbert, who's over here. He probably doesn't want to be there. We got to get him together with the Beauforts. And these guys are Brown, so they own Bristol. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not really very close. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I'm not going to get there. I think Somerset is probably strong enough to be out on his own, but I'll duck into Bristol anyway. Nah. See, there's a danger of plague in the cities, and Somerset feels fairly strong compared to things that are out there. Alright. Herbert does not feel strong, but he's got nowhere to hide. And we get an additional card, and we're going to get a boat, which starts up in Berwick. And now we go to the last kind of minor power here. And it's a plague in Canterbury. And if there were leaders in Canterbury, people in Canterbury, every single one would have to check to see if he dies. Greystoke does not have anything really he can do. He's only got 90 troops. He doesn't own much. He owns Northampton and Newcastle, which are these two. I don't really want to go in a city. I'm going to just sit in my castle, and I draw an additional earldom in case I get another doinker leader. And that's where we're going to hold. Grab some dice. Put them up here to indicate where we are. And I'll zip this and send it up. And then I'm going to come back as interesting things happen. I'm not going to play each turn in this kind of detail because, frankly, that would be really, really boring. A lot of the game is really just going to be diddling around, drawing for cards, trying to see if you can amass a force that can do something useful.